to the infrastructure session at FCBA 2021. We have, as usual, a set of very, very interesting luminaries with us who are going to share their experiences on infrastructure, on agility, on the quantum leap that the cooperative banks are taking, even in midst of all the troubled lockdowns. And today, when the industry is suddenly taking its flight, everything is looking bright, and we hope that things would become much more brighter, much more better for all of us. Friends, I have a very esteemed panel of 7 people in this, in this entire conversation with me. We will quickly go through in the next 45-50 minutes about how we are going to make infrastructure more agile, more capable, more interesting, and more cost-effective for the cooperative banks. Welcome, gentlemen. Welcome, everyone, to this wonderful session on infrastructure agility. May I request Mr. Pranav Pandya to first give a quick introduction of yourself, please.
My name is Pranav Pandya, belong to Surat District Cooperative Bank, based on Gujarat, one of the best cooperative bank in DCCB category. We are manage our own data center from here near DR and DR as per RBI compliances. As of now, we are 9,500 crore bank and well organized and manage one data center.
Wonderful. Congratulations. Great work, Pandya ji.
Thank you.
Rohit, can you give me a quick brief of yourself?
My name is Rohit Singh, and I'm a CISO of Sri Aryan Cooperative Bank Limited. And we are a UCB, a Mumbai-based bank, which normally compete with all the major private and public sector cooperative banks. Okay, so and we are founded in 1984, and we are already almost live on each and every digital channel, because the demand of our customer to be live and compete with those banks. If you want to retain customer, you have to be have on digital channel, and that's all. Thank you.
Wonderful. So let's talk more digital with you. Great. So wonderful. Madana Gopal Swami ji, please share your brief intro, please.
Good morning, every one of you. I am Madana Gopal Swami, former Managing Director at the ADARSH Cooperative Urban Bank Limited. And presently, I am called Working President of Telangana State Cooperative Urban Banks Federation Limited. And our bank, ADARSH Cooperative Bank, is situated at Hyderabad, Telangana. It's about 24 years old. We have about 700 crore business. We used to have for about 15 years, we had our own data center in our bank. But having considered the 24/7 availability and 365 days availability to the customers, and RTGS, NEFT, etc. being available to the customers throughout the year, we thought our data center we may not be able to maintain for a size of our bank size. So we have migrated to cloud. And while migrating, we had so many issues resolved.
Thank you so much for your introduction. Let's quickly get out of the introduction phase. Santosh ji, can you please share your introduction, please?
Yeah, good morning all. I'm Santosh Mohile, Head IT at SVC Cooperative Bank. As Babu mentioned, that SVC Cooperative Bank has opted for a core banking changeover. We are moving towards Pinnacle. It's a very large project, organization-wide project, and it is touching every aspect of our IT operations and business. We have taken up this when the COVID period was at its peak. Now things are looking better. We are trying to complete the project in time as per the business requirements, and I am sure that we will be able to do that. That is the primary task which we are doing right now. Thank you.
All the best on your great endeavor of core banking. It is a Herculean task. I know how Herculean it is. All the best to you, your team and yourself.
Thank you.
Can you please share me your brief intro, please?
Yes, good morning to everyone. Thanks for considering me. I'm Vijay Pawar, as a DGMIT for the PDCC Bank, one of the largest DCC in country. We have a potential of 10,000 crores banks, and we have all delivery channels, and I'm looking after the IT department of this bank. Thank you.
Fantastic. Great job being one of the largest DCC Pune DCCB, and you have been doing a fantastic job, earning a lot of awards from Banking Frontiers for your IT activities. Keep it up. Srinivas ji, please share your brief intro, please.
Thanks, Babuji. I'm Srinivas MUPPANENI, Group CIO for Telangana State Cooperative Bank and District Central Cooperative Banks. I'm heading the technology for all these banks. So we had recently we have migrated the core banking for all our DCCBs in the COVID time itself, and also the version upgrade for our state cooperative bank. Our bank has been adjudged as the best state cooperative bank in the country by NABARD recently, and also one of our DCCBs, Karimnagar, is the best best DCCB in South India. So we are able to provide all kind of digital channels through our DCCBs, and we are handling 435 branches and also 1,000 primary agricultural cooperative societies completely centralized, and we manage our own data centers and DRs in a private cloud.
Wonderful, wonderful. Let me now take the honor of introducing you to SRIKANTH GONUGUNTLA, who is the industry lead for banking, financial services, insurance, and fintech at Oracle. SRIKANTH is a financial services industry leader and is architecting solutions on Oracle Cloud. He will share with us some interesting perspectives on how the cloud is making itself very, very useful for the cooperative banking sector. Well, SRIKANTH, welcome to Banking Frontiers FCBA Awards 2021. So one very common element that is seen during the times of COVID and disaster is that all of you have opted to change your core banking or clean up the house during the time when the business is low. Okay, so that is a very interesting move, a very strategic move that all of you have taken over. So let's, since we have been talking about the pandemic times and things like that, let us learn from Mr. Vijay Pawar. What has been the initiatives of cooperative banks, especially during pandemic times, when there is a stress on the infrastructure, though you have your people working 24/7 in your offices, being an essential services, but still there is a lot of stress on infrastructure. There is a stress on hardening of the infrastructure due to security attacks and many more. What have you been seeing and how have you been working on it?
Yes, so this pandemic basically has not given any choice at all. It has, enforced this lockdown across entire, financial community. So in that way, in the cooperative segments, what I have seen basically that the branchless banking services, various payment services, I do see that services has been, essentially asked by the small scale customers. Ideally, and these services we have to give it to the customers without choice. So in that case, being an infrastructure level, we are looking after it. We have no choice at all. We cannot compromise on that front. So we started, bringing up the various channels in our service line. And in that case, the challenge is what I feel that understanding that services and implementing it into a total overall as a kind of service. So that things I fill it up as a kind of the first part we have taken it up. Second thing, providing the services to the ground level customers. This is one of the major challenge I do see it up.
So like all our friends, Santosh ji and various other bankers have used that time for migrating into a new core banking. Did you do something new during the COVID times or pandemic times?
Yes, absolutely, sir. Even we have also shifted to the new core banking services. So we have taken up the trust systems, and during the lockdown, I have utilized the WebEx capabilities to perform our UAT, perform our all the test cases, and understand the business from the departments, understand the business from the core people who are sitting across the. So our bank has built up the sugar factory module. It is one of the important module. I don't think so. It has been built by any of the service provider. So our bank's major portfolio is a sugar factory portfolio, and we have customized that particular module as per our need. Similarly, the agriculture module also we have asked our vendor to build it up. So during entire pandemic period, entire lockdown period, we were having a continuous WebEx session to understand the functionality and getting it into a actually in UAT as well as rolling it into a actual productions. So in that way, we have built up our model, and most of the part of our CBS has been customized as per our banking needs.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much for that kind of insight. If I come to Srikanth, as a service provider to the organizations in the banking, what has been your observation when it comes to the kind of difficulties faced by the cooperative banks during these times? And what have you empowered the cooperative banks with during, or any kind of banks with during this pandemic times?
I think one of the things that we saw was cooperative banks initially struggling to get the digital channels going, and lockdown impacting their ability to deliver the services to the customers. But we have a few cooperative banks which were already on Oracle Cloud. For example, I can talk about Ahmedabad Mercantile Cooperative Bank, which is on Oracle Cloud. They were already hosting their net banking on our cloud, and that was not impacted. So there are cooperative banks which took steps, and then there are cooperative banks which responded to the pandemic, that the situation. On that same note, I think I wanted to talk about a little bit on what Oracle can provide here, right? Oracle is the only hyperscale provider that gives applications and technology all put together in one cloud. So we have had customers. In fact, I think we did talk to SPC also at one stage. They were considering looking up cloud for testing platform. I did present to Mr. Moile about 7-8 months ago. I think that was during late last year. So people were responding to the situation and looking up to cloud. So coming back to Oracle, right? It's the only hyperscale provider that has SaaS applications, technology in the platform as service, underlying compute and storage. And we're the only cloud which gives SLAs for availability, performance, and management. So we have Oracle FlexCube, which is a vertical core banking solution, which is available on cloud. If somebody wants to deploy it, it can be done in a matter of days. Any technology can be done in a few hours. And so, yeah, we've had mixed response in that sense from cooperative banks.
Excellent, excellent. That's great how you have empowered the cooperative banks during the times of pandemic. Let us talk to Mr. Rao. Mr. Rao, on one side, you have built in a lot of infrastructure, and I think Madan Gopal Swamiji was also mentioning that they also made their own data centers and things like that. And then comes this time when you are thinking about transforming to your cloud. Okay. Yeah. Now, when you have this kind of balance to be done, on one side, you have already made some investment which you cannot throw out. At the same time, it has to be utilized without inefficiencies. How do you balance both these things, especially in an atmosphere like that of banking?
In fact, Mr. Babu, I wanted to tell you here one thing. We are not going to cloud. And we have our own data center. We have a private cloud we have established for all our banks and societies. Completely, we manage our data centers, our security, our network, everything in-house with the support of the experts. We are not dependent on any of the service providers. And we host our CBS within our data center, and we manage our services. We take CBS, our core banking, our products from the service providers or vendors. And it is definitely beneficial for the cooperative banking if we are cooperating among ourselves. See, the cooperation itself, when the cooperative banks are together, definitely they can take advantage of the consolidated infrastructure at some point. So here we are managing 10 cooperative banks with 435 branches and then 1,000 primary agriculture cooperative societies. Together, we have completely computerized and all the digital channels, everything is there within our network. And we manage the complete technology of all these banks. So here, the point is, when we are able to provide these services to all our constituents, all our banks, we are able to provide these services with lesser cost even when compared to the ASP model.
Okay, you have not gone into a public cloud, but private cloud is also a cloud.
It is ours only. That's what I'm telling.
That's fine.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Whether it is private cloud or whether it is public cloud, it is ultimately a cloud. Correct?
Yes. I mean to say that.
My question to you was more from when you are having your own infrastructure.
Yeah.
How, and you have your redundant or old infrastructure. How do you manage the things of the old infrastructure in case if you have to take it or you have to leave it? That is what I was planning to ask you actually.
Yeah, very good question really, because I also faced the same challenge when I was planning for migration to the new core banking application and also to add the digital channels. So my earlier infrastructure was almost 8 years old. That could not sustain or that was not sufficient for the new digital channels or new core banking that I was going to take. So then I started planning 2 years back for this total environment. So slowly what I have done is whatever existing infrastructure where I have to use this is either for the testing or for the non-critical channels or non-critical applications. I have shifted these applications to the old systems and I have gone for the new hyper-convergent composable infrastructure now. So I'm not going to spend more even when new digital channels are coming also. And also we are working with several fintechs where they are working on the cloud. So integrating my data center, my applications with the cloud-based fintech companies has become a challenge initially. Slowly, because network and other things also we manage internally, so we have taken the complete SD-WAN architecture across our organizations. So the complete branches and the security, everything is within our control, and we have our own cyber security operations center where you can see behind me. That is managed by us internally 24/7 to cater to all the banks. So there we have taken all these earlier infrastructure also, because we have to plan as head of IT. What we have to think is ROI on the infrastructure also in addition to applications. So ROI, whatever which was there earlier, the legacy infrastructure was there for which applications that we need to do. So some of the critical data is available with us. Archival is there. So we can make the earlier systems, legacy systems for the archival storage or for the UATs. For whatever new things are coming, those we will migrate to the new applications and new systems.
That is exactly what I wanted to know from you. How you are juggling around with the infrastructure to make sure that it gives the right kind of value. Mubashir is another very forward-looking IT head of a very interesting pack called as Karasheri Service Cooperative Bank. And while this is a pack, I was personally impressed by the way I went to that office and tried to see how they function. Mubashir, can you please share your introduction, please?
Good morning, everybody. Just to start with you, I would like to share one occasion that we celebrated yesterday. That we have been, as you are aware, Mr. Babu, that we are focusing on gold loans and all. So yesterday, one of the branches touched 100 CR in gold loan.
Wow.
It was 100 CR gold loan. So we have celebrated that moment yesterday that I would like to share with you.
Wonderful.
We are located at the remote part of Kerala. It's a village where we have a village atmosphere. And you can see in my background, we have emerged into such a good infrastructure. So just because of we have catering the kind of service to the customers, and we are focusing on primarily on the customer satisfaction, and based on that we have developed such a kind of packages as you have explained. The packages, that means everything, we have a kind of set of targets for dispersing loans and serving customer, opening an account and all that. So just once a customer walks in, we have everything determined to deliver to that kind of customer. So he walks out with his satisfaction. That is what we looking at. And talking about an infrastructure, we have started from a very minimal investment about 25 years back, and in about 1999 and 2000 we have started the computerization process, and we have started the total banking automation and completed the same within a very short while. And we have focused on that without the paperless banking. We have focused, and we have completed that paperless banking, and we have not used any kind of manual works on those days, and that is what made us to complete the TBA those times. And we have developed and grown up a little bit, and we have gone for the ISO certification, and we have introduced a lot of small the kind of things that we can attract the customers to a small bank by providing technology.
I will just move on to the next question, and that question was to Mr. Santosh Mohile. Where we are talking about agility, business applications and operations, everything has to be agile, and all this is agile only when infrastructure is agile. And if infrastructure is the bottleneck, everything becomes a bottleneck. So how are you aligning infrastructure with business operations, applications and other things? Now that you have just gone in for a new core banking, how did you align your infrastructure to meet that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so very rightly said, Babu, that everything needs to be agile today in the digital world. And as per me, you can be agile only when you keep things simple. You don't complicate them, right? So when you talk about agility in operations, maybe in development and infrastructure, they're part of the same chain. So as you said, we are undergoing a change of core banking, and obviously it touches every aspect of IT and business. So we have taken a top-down approach where we are looking at the processes first. See, because your business is nothing but your business processes, which translate into your applications, and then at the bottom of the pyramid is your infrastructure, which everything has to be agile. Otherwise, there could be a bottleneck. So we have formed a groups, smaller groups for BPR, business process re-engineering, where we are looking at the processes where there is a scope of improvement. If a process is to be made digital, what it will do differently? Because when you say digital, it is not only about the digital technology or the mobile and the tabs. It's about how it brings a change to the customer experience, and that can happen only by where you make your process change. Look at payments or lending, how the processes have changed drastically. So that is where the digital will play in, but that also demands a change to your operational exercises, the way you have written your code and your infrastructures. So we have formed these small cross-functional teams, which are called BPR teams, and they are re-looking at processes. These processes we are now translating into our development code. Now developers, we are forcing them to use agile technologies, look at microservices, make more use of APIs, so they can be more open, because the more you go into digital, there will be partnerships with your fintechs and other partners who will be happy to work with you if your architecture is API based. So that is where our development teams are working. And coming down to infrastructure, definitely, see, we are a very old bank and we are working on a legacy hardware. And now we are taking up this complete infrastructure revamp or with core banking. So we are running in parallel, as Mr. SRINIVASA had said, they have done banking or created a cloud within their own infrastructure. So we are also trying to do a tech refresh of our entire infrastructure, but building an infrastructure which can be self-serviced or self-provision. Because if you today look at the TAT for provisioning something, and with the pandemic, the deliveries of hardware are taking longer periods. They were earlier 4 to 6 weeks. Now they are talking of 10 to 12 weeks of deliveries. So we are looking at options where we can do a quick onboarding onto cloud wherever it is possible for the application permits us to do that, and create application stack which can be used by doing a self-provisioning and self-configuration to some extent by the users themselves. So they can create certain environments by putting up their requirement and do a self-provisioning. So that is something we are looking at from the infrastructure stack, which can be agile.
So great. SRIKANTH, one is, one important thing is making infra agile. Okay. On the other side, he is also making it compliant and hardening of the infrastructure. Santosh rightly pointed out, one of the biggest problem is in provisioning the resources. So how are you working around all these things?
So there are multiple ways we do this, the entire cloud transformation, right? So one that comes to my mind is like, suppose we have a customer called, not suppose, we have a customer called Entercard in Europe. They had to build PSD2 compliance, open banking compliance, and also national credit register. Everything had to be done within a few weeks. And they came to Oracle Cloud to look for how can we automate some of the things. They used Terraform scripts to automate the entire infrastructure provisioning, and they could do that in a few hours. And they did the entire development was cloud native. They did not even try to procure anything, right? Because the timelines were so short. So they could use microservices, containers, Java Spring frameworks, MySQL for persistence, Kubernetes, everything was available, and they effectively built the whole thing in about 3 months. That's the amount of time they would have taken to probably procure the hardware. And to talk about infrastructure or resource provisioning, like I said, Terraform scripts were used. Everything was automated deployment. And even this whole development environment was housed on, we have developer services, which are underpinned on, CI/CD kind of Jenkins-based architecture. And that whole thing was again provisioned in days. Or built through in days, your entire CI/CD pipeline. So effectively, they delivered the whole thing in 3 months, right? And we have not only this, we have other teams that help the seamless transition. Right, we have architecture references that have been proven successful. We have a team of cloud architects that study what is required for the customer and move them in. We have Oracle Live Lab sessions where customers can just go and play around and get an experience for themselves. And we have something called Cloud Lift Services team, which looks at larger workloads, and these are dedicated center of excellence experts who can come in and help automate, provision, make sure the customer gets onto cloud as seamlessly as possible. And once they do that, we have a customer success team to manage them.
Fantastic. Great, Srinivas. We will go to the security later in the, Srikanth, we will go to security arm later. So let me just, before that, go to Mr. Mubashir once again. Mubashir, you are cloud native, or probably you are ASP native. I have seen that few years back you were on a hosted core banking. I haven't checked your core banking latest, but I'm sure you are very focused on cloud as such even now. So how are you transforming the infrastructure requirement of yours with respect to the strong customer focus that you have? I've seen that you have kept your branches, very, very, agile, very, very effective, very, very high class looking like that of a very high end MNC bank. in a village like Kerala, in a village inside Kerala. How did you manage this infrastructure part of it to work with the customer experience that you are doing?
As you mentioned, we have been using the SVC core banking just recently, and now recently we have migrated to a new CBS. And they have just completed the process of migrating and all that. But the cloud version, we have not completely migrated the cloud. We have just hosted our DR in the cloud right now. Just completed the process of migrating DR to the cloud. On the other hand, we have maintained such a good infrastructure, in-house infrastructure with redundant servers and clustering and all that. We have virtual servers which have been configured much to the requirement of supporting every customer needs. And with the introduction of new CBS, we have catering the customer requirements with the add-on features and functionalities which are available around the clock, and we are working around the clock. That is one more important fact, that we are working 24 hours a day. We have branches working late shifts. So this demands high availability. So in that point of view, we have the in-house data center, as you can say, and we have DR sites installed in one of the branches, which is also available on the clock. And we have an IT team who has been dedicated to support this infrastructure. So we have shifts working to support this kind of availability. So we have strengthened our data center by just adding additional servers to cater to the implementation of new CBS. And also we have the DR located in one of the branches. And recently we have migrated the DR to the Azure. That is the infrastructure right now.
Interesting. So right now you have always been believed in having your infrastructure there, and slowly you are getting into the cloud for at least DR. So
Yes.
that is the step that you have taken, and maybe in the future you would look at further more deviation to that kind of things. Fantastic. That's a good thing. Let me just go to Mr. Madana Gopal Swamy now. You shared this. You have gone one step ahead to what Mubashir has gone, from having a hosted infrastructure to that of the cloud. How was your experience, especially when you transformed into the cloud, or in terms of migration? What did you face, and what was the success story there?
Thank you, Babu. Initially, when we started, we had only on-premise servers. For about 15 years, we were managing. Then we started our ATMs. The challenges increased. Then we started RTGS, NEFT, and ACH from NPCI. And one by one, new products were coming. And the servers availability and controlling everything was very, very difficult for a bank of our size. And Gandhi Committee from RBI also said smaller cooperative banks need to have utilize the cloud services. We thought RBI also has been approving such a model. Until then, we were thinking why we should keep our data elsewhere. So once we have a regulatory comfort, we have evaluated various options and we have migrated to a good service provider. But before we migrated, we had to schedule UAT, we had to schedule various delivery channels, entire CBS, and also various data backups. And most important was that data integrity, validation, entire data, whether it has moved or not. And also millisecond difference should not be there. So we even if we take weekends, etc., customer service should not be disturbed. So we had to plan in a very, very meticulously, and we had faced some challenges, and they have been addressed. And ultimately, I can tell you, with less support from CBS vendor, support was anyhow there, other channels, but technology-wise, our networking, telecom integration, firewalls, endpoint security, any configurations, redundancy in network, everything our internally, with our experience of 15, 16 years by that time, we had successfully migrated. And today we have even UPI and all that. It's working well. And cloud migration, most important is scheduling and also planning. Most important is the planning, scheduling, and also UAT is the most important in migration. Regarding that, the skills required for the technology people to be sustainable, the bank to be sustainable, the entire ecosystem is changing. NPCI on one hand is bringing out new products. Customers' expectations are increasing. Large banks are bringing new channels, new delivery channels, and branchless banking, somebody was saying, onboarding a new customer, servicing an existing customer. So the customer expectations are being redefined, and the telecom providers have new challenges, new technologies, new hardware to be procured. So constantly our employees have to be skilled, trained, reskilling, and also some broad training and lectures and then study materials. Some programs are not even sufficient. So micro skilling, that is very specifically, if he is sitting near the system, what exactly is supposed to do. So micro skilling was also essential. Earlier, we used to have something like system administrator, network administrator, or something like that. Now things have totally changed from there to cyber security, employees, technology, policy, governance, audit, compliance, several things. Entire infrastructure is taking shape around the entire ecosystem. We should be able to redefine constantly and face the challenges and move forward.
Interesting. I think your ideas related to outsourcing and skilling definitely make a lot of sense. And from a systems administrator now to a cloud administrator is becoming more important, or probably and security, especially with all this requirements of having a SOC. I can see behind Mr. Rao an interesting picture of his SOC. Okay. That is something which has become an ornament for every banker to have now and relish it and keep working on it, because managing a SOC is like having an elephant. You have to feed it every day. So it is not a very easy task to have that kind of SOC and manage it. Srikanth, a quick last question to you, especially when there is requirement of strong solutions hardening, infrastructure hardening, and there is a need for agility. What do you think should be the easiest and the better steps, and how are you working towards providing a quick solutioning to all the compliance requirement in security and the infrastructure of the future?
So Oracle has multiple layers of security. One is, if I look at Oracle Cloud, right, we've taken hypervisor out of the virtual instance, which is, you will not have a noisy neighbor. Your virtual instance is your node. There is a perimeter compute through which you have to get through. We deploy CloudGuard, which is an ML-based agent that looks for anomalies. And we deploy our machines in a maximum security zone, which is, there is no human configuration, everything is automated. That's how we look at security of the cloud. Now, security in the cloud, we have database level security, which is, there are different features like data safe, which hides important information, transparent data encryption, label security, data masking. So there's several features at the database level too. why it is important is now with the Banking Regulation Act 2020, I think it becomes imperative for most banks, all cooperative banks except PACS, to comply with RBI guidelines going forward. And what it does is some of the things that by moving to cloud, by the way, Oracle Cloud is also certified recently by Ministry of MEITY, M-E-I-T-Y, IT and Technology. So by moving to cloud, like Mr. Pranav said, some of the headache is taken away. Let the technology guy do the technology job of maintaining SOC or ISO or whatever be the compliance. There are we have at least 20-30 compliances done, and there are auditors which are checking every 6 months. So all that will be taken care by the cloud provider, which is a technology provider, and you worry about doing your banking business, and we will take care of your cloud. That's how I would look at it.
Great. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for this wonderful conversation. We have a strict cutoff on time. Otherwise, I would have loved to carry on for this conversation. Thank you very much, everyone, for making this very, very valuable.
Thank you, Mr. Babu.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.